Oh, hi guys! Today I'm recording a video on the top 5 things that we want to see in 9.1. I've talked to the community a bit, and because it's going to be such a long time till we actually get some content, I thought I'd make a video on 5 things that would be really good to see in 9.1. This does not include things like, oh, give us more content, or, oh, I want these class changes. This is going to be things that are essential parts of the way the game functions. So at number 5, I put in catch-up systems. Right now, playing an alt can feel really punishing. There are systems in place that have no real way to speed you up on your 3rd or 4th alt. When you have to grind out Exalted from Venari for the 3rd time, it is really painful. Luckily, we've just seen an introduction that allows you to buy all the stuff regardless of your Venari rep on your alts, which is what should have been in the game from the beginning, really. It's details like this that keep people playing the game. I don't expect us to just get everything for free. In fact, I understand the importance of putting in effort to get your rewards, but when it's your 3rd or 4th character, the real sense of accomplishment is diminished because this is the 3rd time you've done this content. It is no longer fresh. It becomes a real drag. And in reality, you don't want to be doing that content specifically. You just want to be enjoying yourself doing the content that you actually enjoy, like Mythic Plus or Arena or Rated Battlegrounds or even raiding. And it's not like you haven't put in the work. This is your 3rd character, for f***ing sake. Right now, there is still no catch-up mechanism for Soul Ash. I think I'm 4 or 5 legendaries deep. For anyone who wants to switch to a different character to actually make this game enjoyable again, you know, you're going to be so far behind. It is these small details in the game that keep players playing for longer rather than just quit and return, quit and return. Number 4 is set bonuses from tier pieces. Set bonuses gave your character a new dimension every tier. The set pieces were actually something for players to work towards and get excited about. We saw Azerite armor take the place of set bonuses in a way that didn't really do what set bonuses did. So set bonuses would change every tier, but Azerite armor was essentially the same every tier. Soul bindings don't fill that hole either, unfortunately. Bring back set bonuses, bring back class sets, let's bring back that class fantasy through the class transmog. This would be a real enjoyment for players looking for that class immersion and for the high-end players looking for some kind of meaningful change in the way that their specs play. The great unpruning didn't feel that great. I'm looking at you, Eyes of the Beast. Now, we did get some spells back, which is what the community wanted, but it didn't really feel that substantial. Most of the spells that people got were slightly insignificant or even entirely insignificant. People in general don't hate borrowed power systems. Having uninteresting potency spells doesn't really scratch that itch. I'm still unsure why they didn't bring set bonuses back after they scrapped Azerite. Number 3 is changing how gear actually functions in PvP. I know we've had an awesome time in Shadowlands with the PvP vendor that's done wonders for people not having to do PvE content to play their favourite content. I love PvPing and gearing up with a point system where you can spend your points wherever you want is actually wonderful. However, the fact that this system is so good puts pressure on players who don't enjoy PvP to actually go in there and target their gear in that way. This leads to boosting, which gets PvPers so much gold. So you get loads of high-end players sitting at between 1.5 to 2.1 and just going back and forth, just farming out wins. There's so much pressure there that it becomes a very unenjoyable place to play because you're just playing against literal gladiators. The fact that loads of PvEers have to focus on PvP content at the start of the tier to get their gear makes people not enjoy playing the game when you're forced to do content you don't enjoy. On top of that, they're going into content without the best Covenant ability, but they're going against players who enjoy that content and therefore have chosen that Covenant around PvP. So it's like being slapped twice in the face. If we had some sort of gear scaling system where PvP gear was scaled up in PvP and didn't scale to the same extent in PvE, and PvE gear didn't scale in PvP, then we would have a much nicer divide between the two gearing systems. This would relieve a lot of pressure for people who don't have any crossover. And I love doing both, but I've had a lot of opinions expressed by people who really don't like PvPing, but they felt they had to because they were in some, World 300 guild and it was expected to of them, when really they play the game because they want to do PvE content. In WoD, there was a scaling system that worked kind of like what I'm describing. This is what people have been saying that they need back in the game. Blizzard is trying to force this kind of idea that you need to be doing every single form of content and doing it well to succeed in one piece of content specifically. But I don't feel that's particularly healthy for the community. Number 2 is a revamp of Torghast. Right now, Torghast just feels like endless mob farming in a cold, dark room. Kind of like the Lucid Nightmare mount, where you just go through the rooms and again, and it's just deja vu because you're coming into the same room. That's what Torghast feels like. If they could add some kind of way to make it feel more like Mage Tower. I don't know if you guys did Mage Tower. I did a few Mage Tower runs. They were really fun because there were mechanics and there was a storyline. It wasn't a long piece of content. It was just tricky, and it had mechanics that you actually had to learn and you had to practice, and you would fail, and that was okay because the content wasn't tied to player power at all. And there's so many different things in this game that are tied to player power. Not everything needs to be mandatory. If you can make a transmog that's tied to a non-mandatory map of Torghast, for example, that would be awesome. Right now, I'm not in the camp of I absolutely hate Torghast. I don't think it's bad. I think it's certainly much better than some of the previous things that we've had in the game. I played BF8, I know. Hopefully we'll see some new and interesting ways of exploring Torghast. Number 1 is Covenants. The fact that player power is so heavily linked to Covenants is a real problem. People told Blizzard this would not end well, and it hasn't. I thought that, we were being exaggeratory when we said that people wouldn't let you into keys because of your Covenant, but it's absolutely happened. When your player power is linked to your Covenant and it is so difficult to change Covenant, it is a real problem. My friend plays a Night Fae Hunter and he goes into PvP and his main ability is just absolutely obsolete. And the fact that you change specs and your moves become essentially obsolete is really punishing. You're essentially forcing people to kind of fit in these boxes that people don't want to fit in. This is how people, once again, enjoy the game, is by switching things up. I play Resto Druid in keys, I play Boomkin in keys, I play Resto in raid, I play Boomkin in raid, I play Guardian in keys, and I play Resto in PvP. And I've got 3 soul bindings to choose from. And sometimes your BIS soul binding is BIS for multiple different forms of content. So there's just absolutely no way you can be playing your character in the way that you want to play it within the constraints to the best of your ability. The fact that soul bindings aren't spec specific really confuses me. I don't understand why you would do this to people. People have already made their meaningful choice, which is their class. The fact that when we have talent system, we can't pick every single move we want. We play one as a consequence to the other. That is a meaningful choice that has flexibility so that people don't feel frustrated. Blizzard has just given itself a harder task than necessary. They already have to balance classes, and that is a hard thing to do. Why have they gone and added another level that they need to balance? So you don't have to balance a Ret Paladin anymore, which they can't do. You have to balance a Kyrian Ret Paladin and a Venthyr Ret Paladin and and so on and so forth. If you took the Covenant system and just allowed players to go somewhere, change their Covenant freely, and be able to use the Soulbind system matched with the Covenant ability freely that they could swap around, then you wouldn't have any kind of problems. You're essentially forcing diversity that people don't want. We don't want diversity in our PvP players. Nobody wants to see a rainbow of Resto Druids in PvP. I'm forced to play Night Fae because I enjoy raiding and I enjoy Mythic Plus. But it feels so unrewarding when I enter PvP and I see a Necrolord Resto Druid. Why would you try and force players to stay in their lanes? That's exactly how people get frustrated with content and they don't enjoy doing other forms of content because they don't feel like they have a fighting chance in it. You want whether you succeed or not to be based upon your skill. That's what feels meaningful. Rather than what Covenant you picked, what form of content you chose to essentially focus on. Because for the majority of players, that's what they're doing. We've seen the statistics. They are Googling which is the best Covenant for this form of content, and then they're picking that. You have a plethora of content that is essentially split into quarters that the player base can only enjoy a quarter of. If you open this up, you would give players so much more to do. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any other potential suggestions, please leave a comment below. I know that not all of you will agree with my ideas, but I did talk to quite a few people from different levels, and this is what they suggested they would prefer. Some other worthy mentions are things like reducing the amount of casters in Mythic Plus, removing the target caps so that players that cleave can enjoy cleaving again, revamping them all, introducing player housing. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will be streaming over at twitch.tv/411games. I'll be making some more mount guides and news videos and everything for you guys. So like and subscribe if you want to enjoy more of my content. Take care, guys.